Good evening, my friends. I want to begin tonight with a confession. Everything I have ever taught, every technique, every practice, every method, every principle I have laid before you over all these years has been pointing at one thing, not assumption. Assumption is how you get there, not visualization. Visualization is the vehicle, not living from the end. That is the address. One thing. The thing underneath all the other things. The thing that makes everything else either work or fail to work, regardless of how correctly you perform it. Feeling. The feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the thought of it. Not the visualization of it. Not the affirmation of it. The feeling of it, deep, genuine, sustained, lived in, is the only creative force that has ever existed. Everything else I have taught you is simply a different road to this one destination. And tonight, I am going to teach you how to feel it. Let me show you the difference between what most people do and what actually works. Most people pray, they hope, they beg. They perform elaborate practices with genuine commitment and sincere desire. And then they wait. And what they are waiting for, the specific thing they are actually waiting to feel, is the arrival of evidence that will finally give them permission to feel what they are trying to manifest. When the money comes, I will feel secure. When the relationship arrives, I will feel loved. When the healing is confirmed, I will feel well. This is the fundamental inversion that keeps desire perpetually out of reach. They are trying to use the outer world as the cause of the inner feeling, but the outer world is never the cause. The outer world is always, exclusively, the effect. The feeling is the cause. The world is the mirror, and you cannot change a mirror by rearranging what it reflects. You change a mirror by changing what stands before it. You are what stands before it. Your feeling is what the mirror reads. And until you dare to feel the fulfilled state, not after the evidence arrives, but before, in the absence of evidence, sometimes in the face of contrary evidence, the mirror has nothing new to reflect. This is the secret, the whole of it. Everything else is commentary. Now let me make this precise, because feeling is a word that is easy to misunderstand. When I say feeling, I do not mean emotion. Emotion is what arises in response to circumstances. Joy when things go well, fear when they don't, excitement when something approaches, relief when something resolves. Emotion is reactive. It follows from what you perceive. That is not what I mean. The feeling I am describing is something deeper than emotion. It is the inner conviction of already being the quality of consciousness that belongs to someone for whom the desire is simply, quietly, unremarkably real. Think about something you genuinely have, something you take completely for granted, your own name, the chair beneath you, the city you live in. How do you feel about these things? Not excited, not hopeful, not anxious about whether they'll continue to be there. You simply, with a quietness so complete you barely notice it, know them to be real. That quality, that specific, settled, undramatic, unargued knowing, the feeling that requires no evidence because it is its own evidence. That is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the excitement of something arriving, the quiet certainty of something already possessed. And this is why I have always said, not emotion, but assumption. Not hope, but knowing. Not visualization from outside the state, but inhabiting from within it. The feeling I am pointing to is the feeling of being the person who has the desire, not reaching toward them, not imagining them from a distance, but being them from inside their consciousness, looking out at a world that simply confirms what is already known. Let me give you the practical heart of this. A woman came to me who wanted to be reunited with her estranged husband. She had tried everything the ordinary world offers in these situations: letters, calls, intermediaries, appeals, explanations. Nothing had moved. I asked her one question: do you love him? She said yes. Then assume he loves you too, and that you are already together. She looked at me with the expression of someone being asked to climb a mountain barefoot in winter. It seemed not just difficult, but somehow dishonest, a pretense, a refusal to face what was real. I said, just tonight, before sleep, feel him beside you. Hear his voice telling you he loves you. Let it be real in your imagination, not as a hope, not as a prayer, but as a present fact. She did it, reluctantly, without confidence. The next week he called. By the end of the month they were together. What changed? Not him, not the circumstances, not any external variable that she had access to. Her feeling changed. She moved even tentatively, even without conviction, into the state of someone who was already loved, already reunited, already the woman whose husband was present rather than absent. And the world, which is always faithful to the feeling it receives, reflected the new state. Another man came to me, longing for better work. He felt invisible to the world, unnoticed, passed over. The inner conversation of a man who has quietly accepted, without ever quite deciding to accept, that this is simply how things are for someone like him. I told him, you are not stuck in your circumstances. You are stuck in your feeling. He constructed a scene, simple, specific, sensory. The handshake of a new employer. The words, you're hired. The feeling in his chest of a man who has been seen and chosen. Every night he entered that scene and stayed there until the feeling was real. Within weeks, a company he had never contacted reached out with an offer at double his previous salary. The world had not changed. He had changed. The feeling had changed. And because the feeling is the creative force, because the world is always and only a mirror of what you are in consciousness, the world had no choice but to reflect the new man. I want to address the scripture that has always guided this teaching, because it is the most precise description of what I am teaching tonight that has ever been written. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not in his head, in his heart. This is not a distinction between mind and emotion. It is a distinction between the surface and the depth, between what you tell yourself and what you actually believe, between the affirmation on your lips and the conviction in your bones. You can say with your lips, I am wealthy. But if in your heart, in the deep, honest, interior place where you actually live, you feel poor, it is the feeling that governs always, without exception. The law does not read your affirmations. It reads your feeling. And this is why technique alone can never be enough. You can perform every practice correctly and change nothing if the feeling underneath the practice is the wrong one. The woman who hopes the visualization will work has a different inner atmosphere than the woman who inhabits the visualization as already real. The man who tries to believe his affirmations has a different inner atmosphere than the man who speaks from the assumption of already having. And the inner atmosphere is everything. Now let me address the question that is forming for some of you. But what if I can't feel it? What if I try and the feeling doesn't come? Or it comes briefly and then fades? This is the honest question of most sincere practitioners, and I want to give it an honest answer. Feeling, like any faculty, is trained by practice. A musician does not sit down at the instrument for the first time and produce effortless music. The ease comes from repetition, from returning again and again to the same posture, the same reaching, the same inner orientation, until what was once effortful becomes natural. You are training your consciousness to dwell in a specific state. At first, it will require conscious effort. You will hold the feeling for a minute, and then it will dissolve. You will construct the scene and inhabit it briefly, and then the familiar old feelings will reassert themselves. This is not failure. This is the beginning of training. The practice is this: return, as many times as necessary, without self-judgment, without the drama of it's not working. Simply return. Find the feeling again. For even a few seconds, even 30 seconds of genuine inhabitation is a seed. And seeds, planted daily in the same fertile soil of consciousness, grow. And here is what happens as you persist. The new state becomes more familiar than the old one. The feeling you are practicing begins to feel more like home than the feeling you are leaving behind. And at some point, you will know it when it happens, because it feels like exhaling after holding your breath. The new state simply becomes where you live. You are no longer visiting the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You are dwelling there. And when you dwell there, the world catches up. Let me speak about the bridge, because this is where faith is most needed and most often fails. When you feel the wish fulfilled genuinely, deeply, with the conviction I am describing, something is set in motion. A process begins. A sequence of events begins to arrange itself, following paths you did not plan and could not have predicted, moving toward the physical expression of what you have felt as real. This process is what I call the bridge of incidents, and it forms itself. You do not build it. You do not need to see it before you step onto it. You do not need to understand how it will bring you from where you are to where you have felt yourself to be. Your job, the only job that has ever been yours in this process, is to feel it real and then live from that feeling. The bridge takes care of itself. And this is precisely where most people lose the manifestation. They feel it genuinely for a few days. Then they look around and they see no bridge. They see no sign that anything is moving. The circumstances look the same. The evidence is unchanged. And they conclude it isn't working. And in that conclusion, they step off the bridge they were already standing on. What you see in your physical world when you first shift your feeling is not your new reality. It is your old one still reflecting the former state, still showing you the echo of who you were before the feeling changed. The echo is not the voice. Don't let the echo tell you what the voice said. The voice is your feeling. The echo is your circumstances. And the echo always lags. It always takes time to catch up to the voice that produced it. This is why I teach, persist. Not in technique, not in anxious monitoring. Persist in the feeling. Hold it. Return to it. Let it become so natural, so unremarkable, so simply how you are that the delay stops troubling you. Because a person who genuinely feels something to be already done does not watch anxiously for signs. They simply live. They go about their days with the quiet confidence of someone who knows what they know. And life, always faithful to the feeling, always exactly reflecting the inner state, eventually, inevitably, lawfully shows them what they have been feeling. Let me say something about what you are actually doing when you feel the wish fulfilled. You are not manipulating external forces. You are not sending signals to the universe and hoping it responds. You are not begging a distant God for favor. You are creating the same way that everything that has ever existed was created, from the inside out, from consciousness into form, from feeling into fact. This is how God creates. And you are not separate from that creative power. You are its expression, its individual focus, its temporary concentration in this particular life, this particular body, this particular set of circumstances. When you dare to feel something as real before it is visible, when you have the courage to inhabit the state of the wish fulfilled and maintain it in the face of contrary evidence, you are not pretending. You are exercising your nature. You are doing the thing you were made to do. And the world, which was made to respond to that exercise, must respond. It has no choice. Not because you have somehow forced it, but because that is what the world is. Consciousness expressing outward. And when consciousness takes a new form, when feeling shifts, when assumption settles into a new state, the expression must change. The law is not partial. It does not work for some and fail for others. It works for everyone who uses it and fails for everyone who doesn't. And using it means feeling, not hoping, not trying, not performing the right techniques while inwardly feeling the wrong things. Feeling. So here is what I am asking of you tonight. Not a month of practice, not a complete overhaul of how you live. One night, tonight, before you sleep, choose one desire, just one, and enter the feeling of it already being so. Not the visualization of it approaching, the feeling of it already arrived. Find the scene that belongs to the person who already has this thing. Not the moment of receiving it, the moment after, when it has been real long enough to be ordinary. You simply living in the fulfilled state, a moment so natural it barely registers. Enter that moment. Feel it. Hear the sounds. Feel the air. Know the quality of being that person, the particular way they breathe, the way they move, the specific inner atmosphere of someone for whom this is simply their life. And let the feeling become real, not performed, not forced. Real, even if only for a few minutes, even if only for the length of a slow exhale. A genuine moment of actually inhabiting the state is worth more than hours of effortful visualization from outside it. And then fall asleep inside that feeling, not hoping it will work, not analyzing whether you did it correctly, simply resting in the feeling, the way you rest in any state that is genuinely and completely your own. Tomorrow the circumstances may look unchanged. Do not let them tell you the feeling failed. The feeling does not fail. The feeling is the cause, and causes precede their effects. Return to the feeling, and the next day return again, and persist not in struggle, but in the quiet, faithful, increasingly natural habit of inhabiting the state you have chosen until the feeling is simply how you are, until the desired state is your dwelling place rather than your aspiration, until you do not visit the wish fulfilled but live there. And then, with the silent precision of a law that has never once failed anyone who genuinely applied it, the world will show you what you have been feeling. Nothing is more powerful than your feeling, not your circumstances, not your history, not what others believe about you or what logic says is possible or what the evidence says is true. Your feeling is the evidence that matters. Your feeling is the cause that creates. Your feeling is the seed, and what you feel with genuine, sustained, lived-in conviction, that is the harvest that must come. Dare to feel it. Feel it deeply. Feel it as though it is already done, because in the only dimension that creates, it is. Good evening. This is Neville Lectures. I'll see you again in the next video.